YouTube, welcome. Against the spread here with our top three sleeper picks of the 2020 season. Right now we're doing some quarterbacks. We have Tim Nato 7, BX Star 10, and we have TB4. TB4, what is your top three quarterbacks of the 2020 season?
Well, top three quarterbacks are going to be a little bit different than my top three value sleepers. Some of my sleepers are going to be Matt Ryan, Jared Goff, and Ryan Tannehill. So Matt Ryan, I think, he has Julio Jones. He's got a new weapon with Todd Gurley. With the shipment of Austin Hooper, they're going to have some new tight end support. Their defense is a bottom 10 defense, so they're going to be constantly in shootouts or have to be forced into shootouts. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. So I see Matt Ryan having an underrated year. He might slip into that top 12 QBs, or at least has that potential. Jared Goff, he's still got Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. If they stay healthy, they're going to be very good. Tyler Higbee, he's going to be a big target. And Reynolds, during Cooper Kupp's absence last year, stepped up big time. I don't think Cooks is going to have too much of an impact on their offense. Personally, I thought he was a little bit overrated. He shared a lot of time with Woods, but those two are they're a team full of number two receivers, and they might do some damage. Ryan Tannehill, he finished great last year. People, they're going to have to stack the box in order to stop Henry. Brown had over 1,000-yard season, and he's going to have another good season. Ryan Tannehill is very consistent. As soon as they got rid of Mariota and they put in Tannehill, they started rolling. So I look for Ryan Tannehill to be in that, Tom Brady 2-3 step drop back, hitting, slot receivers and be dumping off to his tight end. I actually noticed, and we'll discuss this in another video, but Jonnu Smith, I think he's going to have a monster year as well with Ryan Tannehill. He's going to be getting a lot of that Delaney Walker short yardage. So those are my top three value picks if you get later in the rounds and are looking for some QBs.
And I can definitely see Matt Ryan doing some things. It all depends, though, on Todd Gurley. Could he establish that running game, and if he can stay healthy?
Yeah, I think it's not even just a matter of Todd Gurley. I think if they get behind, they might have to get away from Todd Gurley and be throwing the rock downfield. I think if they establish the run really early and they can, force people to double team, Julio Jones, I think, Gurley might have some good games, but I just think that they're always going to be in a situation where their back's going to be against the wall because their defense is trash.
All right, and NATO 7, what are your top three sleeper picks of the quarterbacks?
Well, it's interesting looking at the difference between my sleeper picks and both of your sleeper picks. I feel like your guys are kind of, their best years are behind them, and my three sleeper picks are all young guys. I got Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, and Daniel Jones, who I feel like you won't have to pick them up too early, but that all three of those guys have huge upside. So Kyler Murray, obviously he had a pretty decent rookie year, but anytime you add arguably the best wide receiver, which is DeAndre Hopkins, to an offense, the quarterback is going to benefit tremendously. And I just think that first year, having that experience under his belt, I think he can really step up his game. And, he's got, besides Lamar Jackson, he's arguably the best running quarterback out there. Then Baker Mayfield, a lot of people were high on him last year, and he disappointed. So, his stock has fallen a lot. But if you just look at the weapons around Baker Mayfield, you have Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. They added Austin Hooper. They added a right tackle to, give him better protection. He has all the tools there to help him succeed. And, people are down on him, but that's a great opportunity for some people who are willing to take a little bit of risk. And then lastly, Daniel Jones, he shocked a lot of people. A lot of people were disappointed with the Giants taking him. They thought he was overrated and not a good pick. And, he played really well on a very terrible team that was missing their best player, Saquon Barkley, for part of the season. And even when he was there, he was hurt. He gets those guys back. His wide receiver core, he's got Darius Slayton, who made some big plays last year. And I think, that chemistry is only going to benefit him. So, and don't forget, he can also run the ball. He ran for almost 300 yards and a few touchdowns as well last year. And
Yeah, and I can see Danny Dimes doing some things. It's just last year he had a tendency when he got sacked to lose the ball. He actually he actually had a fumble recovery by the Bears to actually win that game, actually seal it up for him. So,
A couple of things that people forget too is they had their number 1, 2, and 3 receivers hurt for about 4 weeks of that season, and he still found a way to get the ball downfield to his receivers. A couple of things to kind of say about Kyle Murray and Baker. Kyle Murray, yes, definitely a sleeper. I think he might actually be in the top 3 QBs, so he can definitely shock some people, and I would agree. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be really big for him, and Kenyon Drake's might be a little bit underrated in that offense, but Baker Mayfield, I totally agree. I think he's my favorite of your 3 picks, Nato. He has deceiving capability to get away from pass rushers. He kind of has a little bit of that like Tony Romo jazz to him. And with the fact that he's got so many different weapons on offense, I think he can have a real good year this year too.
Yeah, I like that comparison to Romo. I think that's pretty spot on. I think he's just got to bounce back. He's got to keep his head up and bounce back after a disappointing year last year.
all right, well, I'll just get into my sleeper picks for QBs. First one's Tom Brady. I guess it's not really much of a sleeper pick. There's a lot of people high on him this year because he has a lot of talent that surrounds him. Last year, though, New England didn't even have the top 10 offensive offense for this season. The thing was, though, he still had 60% completion percentage and 88 passer rating. The thing is, though, I did hear some weird stat last year that at the time of the throw, the separation between his receiver and the defense was actually the smallest out of any quarterback. So he was trying to thread the needle most of the time. So that also leads to, I guess, incompletions and interceptions coming for the year. My number 2 would be Cam Newton. Cam Newton, he's just been injured, so I think he is actually a really good quarterback, and he has a 1-year deal now in New England, so he's hungry. He's coming out. He's going to be firing the ball. He's going to get some yardage, and as long as he can stay healthy, I think he'll have a great year. Last year, or the last quarterback here, Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to be high on my list here. He's actually only a third-year quarterback, so it's not like the best years are behind him. He had 3,000 yards passing with 20 touchdowns, but he did have 9 picks. But he is surrounded by talents just like Baker Mayfield. Devin Singletary, Stephon Diggs, John Brown, and Cole Beasley. So he has all the tools that he needs as well to succeed. He's just got to have to come through.
I liked what you said about Tom Brady and that stat about his he didn't have much help there. His receivers weren't getting open. After Antonio Brown disappeared after his 1-week appearance, there was no one really there to help him. He didn't have the reliable tight end with Gronk. He's got all the weapons this year. And, people are saying he's degrading. He's 43 years old. He's not the same quarterback anymore. But when you're surrounded by that much talent, he's got very minimal. He doesn't have to make those perfect throws like he did last year.
One thing you have to worry about with Tom Brady is can he have that offensive protection? Because if there's pressure in his face and they're sacking him every time, he's not going to be able to perform as well as he should.
So I would agree also with Josh Allen. He's got a lot of talent around him. One thing I can say about him is he gets some decent amount of running yards. He's not one that forces the ball downfield. He's someone that will, take a hit and try to get in the end zone. He's gonna have some concerns about getting the ball to Diggs. Diggs seems like a guy that has that Antonio Brown wants the ball every single play type of mentality, and that's not that type of offense. So I think as long as Diggs keeps his mindset right, they get him 7 to 10 targets a game, and that defense stays healthy, they can manage that game, and Josh Allen will be successful. I agree he's going to be a sleeper QB. I just don't know if he's going to put up those fantasy numbers that people really think he may or may not be capable of.
All right, guys. Well, YouTube, thank you for listening to our video on our top 3 sleeper QBs. Make sure you guys watch out for our next video on the sleeper running backs. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Hit that notification bell to get notified for our next videos as well. Thank you, guys.